Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Carried Away Travels. In this week's video, I'm going to be continuing my Puerto Rico series by telling you about our experience taking a Bio Bay kayaking tour in Fajardo. Now, in case you didn't know, there are only a handful of bioluminescent bays in the entire world, and Puerto Rico has 3 of them. That's pretty impressive. And it has Mosquito Bay, which is the brightest bioluminescent bay in the entire world, and that's over on Vieques Island, which is just a short ferry ride from the mainland. But if you don't have the time to take the ferry over to Vieques, you do have another option right near San Juan, and that's in Fajardo at Laguna Grande. This beautiful lagoon gives you the opportunity to see that magical glow without having to leave the mainland or drive too far, and honestly, it is so worth it because it is absolutely unforgettable. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar, a bioluminescent bay is a body of water that glows at night due to the presence of millions of microorganisms called dinoflagellates. And when they're disturbed, they emit this bluish green light that's just absolutely magical. And they really thrive in warm, nutrient-dense waters, which is what makes Puerto Rico so perfect for this because it's warm pretty much year-round, and a place like Laguna Grande just has a lot of nutrients coming in. So that just made it a great choice for us on our 8-day road trip around Puerto Rico, particularly because it was so close to San Juan and we were able to hit that on our second day while continuing our trip around the entire island. As you can probably imagine, bioluminescent bay tours are a very hot item in Puerto Rico, so there are a lot of different companies offering these tours, so it can be a little bit overwhelming to pick which one you should go with. We ultimately ended up choosing Puerto Rico Bio Bay Tours for a number of reasons, and we were very happy with their service overall. For starters, they had great reviews. I actually found them on Get Your Guide, and they had a 4.6, which is a great rating. And while their pricing was a little bit higher than some of the other tours at $85 per person, we actually got to be on the water for a full 2 hours, so it was a 3-hour tour total. A lot of the other ones only offered a 2-hour tour, which means you're not on the water for quite as long. It included all of the equipment. We had like 4 guides with us at all times, and when the tour was over, they even gave us bottled water and snacks, so I felt like it was a really great deal for what we got. They even had botanical-based insect repellent, which is better for the environment than your typical bug spray that you'd have, so I thought that was a nice option. And this tour does not offer pickup like a lot of the other ones do. Like if you're staying in San Juan, you probably want to book a tour that will pick you up there and drop you back off. We were already staying in Fajardo. We already had a car, so we didn't want to pay extra for a tour with pickup because we were staying just 15 minutes away. So altogether, this just worked out really well for us. One quick tip before you even start packing is to book this tour as early as possible. Because these bioluminescent bay tours are so popular, they can fill up really, really fast. I went to book ours for a Thursday night, several weeks out, and a lot of the other tour companies were already sold out. So I would say a month in advance minimum. If you are comfortable booking as soon as you know what dates you'll be in Puerto Rico, I would recommend doing that. And if you are a little concerned about booking that far out, I would recommend booking this tour on Get Your Guide because they have free cancellation up to 24 hours before the tour, and they have reserve now, pay later options, so you can actually have your spot saved for quite a while before you actually have to pay anything. And if you do cancel, it's a full refund, so that's some good peace of mind. Plus, if you've never used the Get Your Guide app before, you can actually save a little bit more. If you download that app and use my code CarriedAwayTravels5, you can actually get 5% off your entire booking, so you'll actually get some additional savings too. Something you need to know before booking is that the moon cycle really matters, to the point that on certain nights of the month, they do not offer bioluminescent bay tours. they instead offer full moon kayaking tours. On a bright full moon night, that bioluminescent glow is really almost impossible to see. So instead, they will do tours that focus on the moon cycles and ecology and stargazing. So they're still very interesting, but if you're expecting a bioluminescent bay tour, again, make sure you check what the moon phase is going to be when you visit, and the darker the moon is, the better. You can also message them and ask in advance to double check whether they're planning to do a bio bay tour or a full moon kayak tour on the dates you're planning to be there. And just a quick note before I dive into the details of the actual tour. If this is your first time here, welcome. My name is Carrie, and I share helpful travel tips, itineraries, gear recommendations, and more, so you can always have the perfect trip. If you're already enjoying this video and that sounds like the kind of information you want more of in your feed, I'd encourage you to go ahead and subscribe to my channel, turn on notifications, and stay tuned because I have a lot more information coming up for Puerto Rico and beyond. All right, so if you book with Puerto Rico Bio Bay Tours, your adventure is going to start around 8 p.m. in the little village of Las Carabas. You should arrive 15 to 20 minutes early, and there is a park-like area with tons of parking. It's free, so you shouldn't have any trouble finding a space and then walking over to the dock area to meet up with the workers and get checked in. The staff had everything organized really well, and they did also give us the option to put any valuables in a safe space with them while we went on the water. Daniel and I actually had our floating dry bag with us, which we take pretty much everywhere. So we didn't leave anything, but a lot of people use that for their keys or their wallets because they didn't want to risk dropping them in the water. After everyone was gathered up, they also had a pretty extensive safety briefing as well as instructions on how to kayak. So if you've never paddled a kayak before, they will teach you how. If you are struggling, they have extra guys that will help tow you along for little ways to make sure you can keep up and can still enjoy the tour. And they made sure we knew what to do if we fell out of the boat or we had some other type of emergency. It was very, very thorough. And it probably lasted about 15 to 20 minutes before they had everyone line up, get their life vests on, and then assigned us to boats. Now, all of the kayaks are double kayaks, so you will need a partner. If you're in an odd group, they will make sure that everyone is assigned with another person. So bring a friend. If not, they'll pair you up with a friendly stranger, hopefully friendly. And then they will help you get into the boats to make sure you don't capsize. You will have to go into the water, bowed up to your waist. And pro tip, do not wear flip-flops for this because it's going to make everything really hard and awkward. So take off your flip-flops. I would recommend water shoes as a much better alternative for this. And then once everyone's in the kayaks, they're going to get you lined up and actually start the tour. The first part of the tour is pretty easy. They have you do this big loop around the harbor, and it's a really good chance for everyone just to kind of get used to paddling, especially if you've never paddled with a partner before. It can take a while. So the waters here are really calm, and they had us do a single file line. We just followed the guide, and each of our kayaks had a red and green light at the front, so we knew which group was ours because we were definitely not the only kayaking group out there. So we had about 15 minutes or so of paddling through the harbor before we entered the mangroves. And this is where stuff got interesting because we went on a new moon and it was dark. Like, it was dark. The only light we had to work by was those red and green lights from our kayak. So it was very peaceful, but it was also very dim. So because we're going through this narrow channel, it can be a little interesting to navigate because there are bends and there are low-hanging branches. So to help everyone navigate safely, the lead guide implemented like a telephone system. You know that game you used to play where you'd pass on the information to the next person? But he would call out low-hanging branch on the right, and every single kayak would pass that down, or sharp left turn, and we would pass that down so everyone knew what was happening. Definitely helped keep our brains engaged. But paddling through here wasn't hard. Again, it's a protected channel, so you're not fighting currents or anything. And it was very peaceful at night. Did hear some disturbing noises, and I was like, that sounded huge. What just went into the water? But obviously we're here in one piece. probably just some big fish. At least that's what I'm telling myself. And that part lasted for probably about 30 minutes. Finally, the mangroves just opened up and we found ourselves out in Laguna Grande. It was so beautiful. There is like a town built along the left side when we came in, so there were lights from that, but the other side's just like trees and it was all dark, and it was just so pretty. And Daniel actually started seeing the glow right away. I didn't notice it because there was a lot of lights coming from the kayaks in our group, but they had us paddle out a ways into the lagoon, and then they had us all line up side by side and kind of lock each other's kayaks in place, then turn off the lights, and from that point we could just dip our hand in the water and watch the waters light up from that reaction as we disturb the waters. And so they gave us like a 10-minute presentation explaining how the bioluminescence works, why the moon cycle matters, and things like that. And then they just kind of gave us free rein for about 30 minutes to paddle around and enjoy. You could definitely see the waters glowing with the pedal strokes and if you dipped your hand in the water, but I did not have the best camera equipment to capture this, unfortunately. Any light pollution that you bring in, even from just like your phone screen being lit up a little bit, does mess with the glow. So I was able to get this one super awesome picture with like a 30-second exposure of Daniel splashing his arm around in the water. But if you bring better camera equipment, or apparently with an iPhone, you can get some pretty good photos. You can get a lot better footage than I did. I know that's disappointing for a YouTube video, but honestly, seeing it in person is the coolest thing. I have seen other pictures that people have done. A lot of the ones you're gonna see are like AI enhanced. Seeing it in person is incredible. So I wouldn't worry about getting the perfect photos. I would worry about being in that moment and just enjoying that, because you never know if you're going to be able to be in another bioluminescent bay watching the waters glow up in person. However, if you do want to get some good photos and videos, there are certain camera settings you can use to get that better footage. I did not know this in advance, so I looked it up so you can use them and hopefully get better pictures than I did. You are going to want night mode with the longest exposure possible, a wide aperture at f-stop 1.8 or 2.8, a long shutter speed for a minimum of 10 seconds, 30 seconds is better, set your ISO between 800 and 1600, and turn off all extra screens or lights, because like I said, even the glow from your phone or the front screen on your GoPro can absolutely kill that effect. Once our free time was over, we just retraced our route back through the mangroves and the harbor. This took another 40 or so minutes. And once we got close to the docking area, they had everyone go up in groups of 2 to 3 kayaks at a time, so the staff could help everyone get safely out of the kayaks into the water. Again, this is not deep, but you will need to jump into like waist deep water. And then we all just returned to the initial meeting point where they had bottled waters and some snacks for us like granola bars, trail mix, and pastry crisps. This is also your opportunity to tip the guides. If you enjoyed your tour, they did just spend 3 hours making sure you didn't drown. So they have a jar for cash, or you can Venmo them. I think they might have had PayPal as well. You can just scan those QR codes and send a tip to the entire group. And real quick before we wrap up, I do want to touch on what to wear and bring to make sure that you can actually enjoy this tour. First up, make sure you're wearing clothes that you don't mind getting wet. For us, that was swimsuits with activewear over it. We both actually wore hiking pants that were quick drying because, one, it can get kind of cold out on the water at night, but two, because there are bugs. So even if you have that bug spray on, it's always a good idea to cover up. More skin than not. Daniel wore a long sleeve quick dry shirt, and I had a light jacket over a tank top just to cover up as much as we could. As previously mentioned, I would also recommend water shoes, definitely over sneakers, and probably over flip-flops as well. You might also want to bring a change of clothes. I didn't see a great place to change but at the very least have a towel so you can dry off, and you can always sit on that in the car on the way back. If you have a dry bag, that is one of my favorite items to bring with us on adventures. That's always a great option. Then you can keep all of your valuables safe with you, even in the water. And I do recommend some sort of waterproof action camera or a waterproof case for your phone so you can capture some footage along the way. Overall, this was just such a fascinating tour. It was different from anything we'd ever done. And again, the chance to see those waters lighting up could very well be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. I don't know when I'm going to have the chance to do that again. So to be able to go see that in person, which was absolutely amazing. And so if that's something that interests you, I think this is a fantastic way to go see it. And if you like kayaking and things like that too, like that's just the perfect combo. Once again, there are other places where you can see this in Puerto Rico, but for how close it is to San Juan, I think it makes this such an accessible option for more people. And so if you're at all interested in seeing this, I would highly recommend you also book a tour with Puerto Rico Bio Bay Tours. All right, everybody, that is all from me for today. Thank you so much for stopping by to watch this video and for watching it all the way through. That means a lot to me. I would encourage you to leave any questions or comments you have down below. I love to hear from you guys, and I will happily get back to you as soon as I can. If you want more information about Puerto Rico, this is an ongoing series. I have a few videos already, but definitely go check out the rest of those videos. I also have written blog posts on my website at www.cochranewriting.com. You will find all sorts of information there to make planning your trip super easy, help you decide which activities are a good fit for you, and just make sure that your trip is as enjoyable as it can possibly be. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, save it to reference later for your Puerto Rico travel planning, and don't forget to subscribe to Carried Away Travels to get more videos like this from me in the future. Thank you once again for stopping by, and I wish you many happy travels.